Hello everyone. Today we bring you the latest horror film from 2022, Double Life, a new perspective on the truth about human nature. Let's start with the car accident. An accidental car crash. Rachel loses her twin, Nathan. From that day on, her life is almost a tearful one. Her husband, Antonina, was in pain. To help his wife cope with her grief, Anton sold his current house. He takes the family and moves to the old house in the country. Suddenly Rachel doesn't hear her youngest son Ollie's voice. She looks around nervously. She finally found him at the back of the house near a broken swing set. She found him. The next day, at Ollie's request, his mother had left a bed in his room for Nathan too. But strangely enough, Rachel found that Ollie was always talking to the air in the room and playing games with him. Curious to ask what was going on, only to have Ollie shut the door indifferently. At a party in her husband's hometown, Rachel meets a lady called Helen. She seems to know Rachel well. There is something more than concern in her words. When Rachel feels uncomfortable and wants to leave, Helen said she had something to say. The two of them turned and went into a small booth nearby. When they sat down, Helen held Rachel's hand. Helen added with a worried look on her face. She said that Ollie had made a wish to. She said that the wish Ollie had made to the village that day had come true. Rachel was puzzled when her husband called her name from a distance. Helen simply left a business card and left. When she returned home, Rachel also felt that Ollie had been behaving unusually recently. She was concerned by Helen's comments during the day. But her husband said Helen was the crazy one everyone in the village knew. That she shouldn't think too much about it. As for Ollie, it was possible that she was in therapy. The husband wasn't that strong either. He always shed tears in secret where his wife couldn't see them. After returning from the party, Rachel noticed that Ollie's behavior had become increasingly erratic. He was often lost in his own world and didn't respond. Even the paintings he did were bizarre. When Ollie didn't respond, Rachel just told him to stop drawing. That evening, Rachel was drinking milk. Something suddenly got stuck in his throat. Only when he spat it out did he realize it was a piece of rye. As he was going back to his room, he saw Ollie outside the house by the swing. When she ran over to him, he was gone again. But when she looked over again, Rachel realized she was still in the dream. Rachel woke up and went to Ollie's room, only to find him asleep in Nathan's bed. Rachel forced Ollie back into his bed, asking him what was wrong. Rachel was terrified. When she told her husband the next day, was once again dismissed as a hallucination on his part. Not wanting to let the problem go any further, her husband cooperated with Rachel and removed Nathan's bed and toys out of the house. But Ollie still protested in Nathan's name. Rachel slammed him down in a fit of rage. After this, the couple took Ollie to the doctor. The doctor said it was because Ollie was too young. It was his own way of understanding that his heart was leaving, but now the doctor is always suggesting in his words, Rachel's problem might be bigger. This diagnosis was very confusing to Rachel. He simply took Ollie with him and left. When he got back, Rachel went to see Helen in secret. Helen said she and her husband had moved here later in life. She found every building in the village was a perfect prototype, including the farmyard and even the rice. And where they ended up was the ceremonial stone where Rachel's family had been before. This style of architecture is associated with ancient pagan beliefs. And that's not all. The wish that Ollie made on the sacrificial stone that day, that her brother Nathan would return. But then Helen reminded Rachel, it wasn't Nathan who had returned. It was something far more terrible. Helen gets more and more emotional as she talks, and repeatedly stressed that the demon wanted Ollie. He won't stop until he gets what he wants. There was some hope. But after hearing this, Rachel was deflated. She simply thanked him and rushed off. That very night, Helen was awakened by an eerie noise. Looking for the little light downstairs, Helen went into the bathroom. There was nothing unusual behind the shower curtain, but when she tried to wash her face to calm down, all that came out was a wail of pain. At first light, Helen went to see Rachel, saying that she had sensed a demonic warning last night. When Rachel didn't believe her, Helen then told of her husband's death. They were young and new to the village. Her husband had soon discovered the secret of the ritual stones. And as punishment, the following spring the husband was in constant and inexplicable pain. And finally he spat out blood and closed himself up. If Rachel didn't believe this, from the first day she lived here, how could she explain the strange dreams? What Rachel was experiencing now was what Helen had experienced. She didn't want Ollie to end up like her husband, to be consumed by demons. So she begged Rachel to trust her. After this meeting, Rachel began to pay extra attention to Ollie's every word and action. To verify Helen's words, Rachel took photos of Ollie while he was playing on the swings. She took a few pictures of him. To her surprise, Ollie was suddenly repulsed. He went back to his room, angry. By the end of the night, Ollie was making trouble again, saying that Dad always liked Nathan and not him, and that's not all. Ollie had also dug up the maze toy that he had buried for Nathan. Rachel wanted to put an end to the problem. She simply threw the toy into the fire. But after she fell asleep, Rachel tried to wake her husband. But Ollie said Dad wouldn't wake up. Tell Mom to follow him. And so Rachel followed Ollie. And on the other side, Helen, who was asleep, kept shouting not to follow him. When they got into the kitchen, Ollie lit a candle, telling her to concentrate on a mirror, then told Nathan that Mom was coming. The candle light flickered for a moment. Ollie then began to deliver a message for Nathan, as to how she could see Nathan. Rachel did as Ollie said, turned the mirror around to look at him. Just then, Rachel noticed that Ollie was again holding the mace toy that had been burned. As she wondered, her husband turned on the light and came in. Behind him were more men in black. Strangely enough, the husband says that if he hands Ollie over, and he would bring Nathan back. More and more men in black were coming towards the house. Rachel turns around to find Ollie gone. When she chased him out, he was tied to the dining room table. These men are all residents of the village. The scene changes. Rachel wakes up from her bed, thinking that last night was just another one of his nightmares. Not to mention, her husband and Ollie were laughing and joking as if nothing had happened. But the broken lens in the bin seemed to remind him of something else. When he got out, Rachel went to the photo studio to get the pictures she had taken earlier. There was nothing in the picture but the swing, which meant that everything Helen had said was true. And those horrible experiences last night were not a dream. Rachel went to Helen's for help in the night. They had to get to Father Vasilis before dawn. They had to get to Father Vasilis. On the way, after listening to Rachel's dream last night, Helen suddenly understood everything. The demon had to find the twins if it wanted to come back to life. And that Nathan's death had been a setup. With that, the two of them raced home to pick up Ollie. But when Helen saw Ollie, Helen, after seeing Ollie, turned around and said it was Rachel who was sick. The house was already full of villagers. Helen had a gun, but there were too many of them. As for Rachel, she was once again pinned down, forced to take some drugs. By the time she woke up again, she had been changed into a white dress and was lying in the crowd. Across from her stood a crowd of black-clad men, including her husband Anton and son Ollie. Rachel couldn't move her body. She could only watch as her husband slashed Ollie's neck. The pain of losing her son again made Rachel faint. Afterwards, a rich man took a bowl of Ollie's blood and fed it to Rachel. The next moment Rachel's stomach burst into flames. The woman drew a circle on her stomach with the blood. When it is over, Rachel is thrown into the ritual box. The scene shifts. Rachel wakes up again from her bed. The sound of Ollie's plea for help is in her ears. Rachel opens the room with brute force, finding Ollie in a wooden box. When her husband was not looking, Rachel took Ollie and escaped through the back door. Her husband found them and came after them. But as he ran, Ollie disappeared. And another group of men in black appeared around them. Suddenly Rachel was jumped by her husband. Perhaps she was desperate to save her son. Rachel had no idea where she got the strength. Instead, she pinned her husband underneath her. Luckily, at the last minute, her sanity got the better of her. Rachel didn't go down and die. She ran over and hugged Ollie tightly. Rachel was shocked by what her husband said next. It turned out that Rachel had been driving the car on the day of the accident. It was their only son, Nathan, who was in the car. After the accident, Rachel had shut herself off completely. She even blamed her husband. Even Ollie was a figment of Rachel's imagination. After that, Rachel went to therapy. But it was all for nothing. All her husband wanted to do was to take his wife away from the city. He wanted to take his wife away from the city and come to the village to recuperate. But from the first day he arrived here, under Helen's influence, she had conjured up another bizarre story. In view of this, the husband simply went along with him. In fact, the ritual, he had asked the villagers to pretend to be her. After hearing this, Rachel slowly realized that Ollie was no longer there, and that the woman hiding under the black shark had been herself. She was on the verge of success. Ollie appeared once again. Rachel turned and ran after Ollie into a granary. Not long after finding Ollie, her husband came after her. Seeing that his wife was still persistent, the husband went straight for it. He simply released tons of grain and buried Ollie. But then he was knocked down by Rachel herself. Rachel dug to the bottom of the grain, but there was no sign of Ollie. Only her husband, who was dying, is lying there. At the end of the film, Rachel goes to the car alone after the funeral, but the next moment, her husband and her 2 children all appear. Yes, Rachel is not cured at the end. And now the family is finally reunited. That's the end of today's film. Remember to like the video and leave a comment if you like it.